In 2011, WWE was no longer the wild, unpredictable circus it once was. The Attitude Era was gone. The Ruthless Aggression Era was fading. In its place stood the PG Era, glossy, sanitized, family-friendly. The chaos had been replaced by control. Blood had been swapped for branding, and in the center of it all stood superstars who played by the rules, who smiled for the cameras, and who fit into the corporate image Vince McMahon wanted. But beneath that polished surface, something was bubbling. There was a growing discontent. Among fans, the ones who missed the rawness, the unpredictability, the feeling that anything could happen. Wrestling had become too safe, too scripted, too plastic. And deep in that environment of control, one man was quietly preparing to blow it all up. That man was CM Punk. He wasn't the guy WWE usually pushed. He didn't have the bodybuilder frame, he didn't have the movie star look, and he certainly didn't have the corporate attitude. Punk was straight edge, tattooed, sarcastic, a misfit in a locker room of polished performers. But what he did have was passion, fire, and a voice that refused to be silenced. He didn't shake hands backstage to get ahead. He didn't follow scripts blindly. He believed wrestling could be better, should be better. And in every promo, every match, every sideways glance into the camera, you could feel it. This man was different to many fans. Punk wasn't just a wrestler. He was a mirror, a symbol of their own frustration, a rebel they could rally behind. He called out the things no one else dared to. He mocked the Golden Boys. He questioned the system. And slowly, the fans began to rally behind him. CM Punk was no longer just a voice in the background. He was about to become the loudest voice in WWE. On June 27, 2011, something historic happened. Not in a ring, not during a match, but with one man sitting cross-legged at the top of the entrance ramp, microphone in hand, and rage in his voice. That man was CM Punk. It was the closing segment of Monday Night Raw. John Cena had just faced R-Truth in the main event. But then Punk appeared, no music, no warning, and sat down on the stage. What followed was not just a promo. It was a pipe bomb, a verbal explosion that shattered every boundary between character and reality. Punk didn't yell. He didn't scream. He simply spoke. He called out Vince McMahon for being out of touch. He exposed backstage politics. He took shots at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for swooping in as a part-timer. He questioned Triple H's power behind the scenes. And then he set his sights on the symbol of everything he hated. John Cena. The man in brightly colored shirts, the poster boy for hustle, loyalty, and respect. The one who smiled for kids, granted wishes, and headlined every pay-per-view. But in Punk's eyes, Cena wasn't a hero. He was a corporate puppet. To Punk, Cena was the embodiment of the WWE machine, safe, polished, and rewarded for compliance. It wasn't about who was the best wrestler anymore. It was about who played the game, and Punk wasn't willing to play it. The pipe bomb wasn't scripted, at least not in the way WWE usually scripts things. It was raw, it was real. Punk brought up Rowe, NJPW, Colt Cabana, names WWE had never dared to mention. He even broke the fourth wall with a smirk and said, "Hi, Colt Cabana," into the camera. And then came the moment that made history. "I'd like to think this company will be better after Vince McMahon is dead." Those words sent shockwaves across the industry. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing. The internet exploded. Commentators went silent. The screen cut to black dot. It wasn't just a promo, it was rebellion televised. It was Punk grabbing a megaphone and telling the world, "WWE doesn't listen to you, but I will." From that moment on, Punk wasn't just a superstar. He was the voice of the voiceless. Money in the Bank 2011 Chicago. A city known for passion, for rebellion. And for CM Punk, this wasn't just another pay-per-view. This was a moment. CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE Championship, but with a twist that blurred every line between kayfabe and reality. Punk's contract was legitimately expiring at midnight, and he had made it very clear if he won, he was leaving. With the title. For weeks leading up to the event, Punk had challenged everything: WWE's leadership, Cena's legacy, and even the logic of the entire system. But now, the talking was over. The match was real. The consequences were real. And the crowd, They weren't just excited, they were feral. The atmosphere inside the Allstate Arena that night was unlike anything WWE had seen in years. It wasn't split. It wasn't 50-50ths. It was Ellen for Punk. Every boo for Cena felt like a war cry. Every cheer for Punk was a middle finger to the establishment. You could feel the tension in the air, not just in the arena, but through TV screens around the world. When the bell rang, the crowd didn't sit down. They leaned in, and what followed was Magic 20-5 minutes of brilliance. A masterclass in storytelling. Cena, the champion who always followed the rules, fought with honor, hitting his signature moves, trying to stay composed in the storm. Punk, unpredictable and unrelenting, fought like a man with nothing to lose. Every nearfall had fans clutching their heads. Every reversal brought them to their feet. The match kept building layer upon layer until it became a masterpiece. And then the chaos began. Mr. McMahon and John Laurinaitis stormed to ringside. Vince yelled for the timekeeper to ring the bell shades of the Montreal Screwjob. But Cena, to his credit, refused. He knocked Laurinaitis out and demanded the match continue. And that would be Cena's biggest mistake. Punk took advantage of the distraction, hit the GTS, and covered Cena for the 1, 2, 3. The crowd erupted. The impossible had happened. CM Punk was the WWE champion. Vince stood at ringside, red-faced, panicked. Punk climbed the barricade, turned back, and with a smirk, blew a kiss goodbye to McMahon. Then he disappeared into the crowd, title over his shoulder. Legacy cemented. And just like that, the WWE was without a champion, without control, and for the first time in years, it felt like anything could happen. This wasn't just a victory. It was a heist, a revolution, and a message to the world. Wrestling didn't belong to the machine. It belonged to the fans again. But then they pulled Cena back in. A new tournament was held, and Cena once again became champion. Just as WWE thought they had restored order, Punk returned. With his own title, 2 champions, 1 company, 1 undisputed title to fight for. At SummerSlam 2011, after the chaos of Money in the Bank, WWE scrambled to regain order. With Punk gone, they held a tournament to crown a new champion, a move that screamed damage control. John Cena won the final, as expected. Order restored, right? Not quite. Just as Cena raised the new WWE Championship, CM Punk returned with his title still in hand. Suddenly, WWE had 2 champions, 2 belts, 2 men claiming to be the best in the world. There was only one way to solve it. SummerSlam 2011. Punk versus Cena. 1 match to crown the undisputed WWE champion. And 2, raise the stakes even further. Triple H was named the special guest referee. The match delivered again. Punk and Cena had a rhythm that told stories without saying a word. Every lockup, every reversal, felt like it had history behind it. Punk, still the anti-hero, Cena, the reluctant company man, they tore the house down once again. Punk pinned Cena clean. It felt like, finally, the revolution had won. But WWE had other plans. Moments after the 3 count, Kevin Nash appeared from the crowd. No one knew why. No one knew how. He stormed into the ring and dropped Punk with a jackknife powerbomb. The crowd, stunned, watched as Alberto Del Rio ran down the ramp, cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, and pinned Punk in seconds. Just like that, the new king had been robbed. But between 2 ideologies. Cena represented structure, order, tradition. Punk represented disruption, rebellion, and change. Over the next year, Punk refused to fade away. In fact, he climbed even higher. He turned heel, aligned himself with Paul Heyman, the master of chaos. He evolved from rebellious voice to calculating champion. And in the process, he did something no one had done in over 2 decades. He held the WWE Championship for 434 consecutive days. A modern-era record. He beat everyone WWE threw at him: Alberto Del Rio, Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, The Miz, Ryback. He proved night after night that he wasn't just a voice, he was the best in the world. But no matter what Punk did, no matter how many matches he won, he could never escape Cena's shadow. Cena was always there, front and center. On posters, doing media tours, being the face of the brand. He didn't need the title to be the guy. He already was the guy. While Punk scratched, clawed, and shouted for change. Cena stood tall, polished, composed, and corporate approved, and that's what infuriated Punk most. He didn't just want to be champion, he wanted to change WWE. But Cena was WWE. And that was the story of CM Punk versus John Cena, a battle that wasn't just fought in the ring, but in the heart of every wrestling fan. A rivalry between rebellion and tradition, between the voice of the voiceless and the face of the franchise. If this journey through one of WWE's most game-changing feuds brought back memories or gave you a new perspective, go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into wrestling's most powerful moments, from pipe bombs to betrayals, from shocking heel turns to unforgettable showdowns. And don't forget to ring the bell icon so you never miss an upload. We've got more stories coming, raw, real, and untold. This is wrestling history like you've never heard it before. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay rebellious.